Good morning, everybody. Jody Brozick here with head coach Dan Aaker of the Winter Warriors. Dan, week 0 is in the books. Week 1 on the way. Let's do a recap of week 0. Let's review the game with the defending state champions, Sioux Falls Christian Chargers.
Yeah, it didn't really go very good for us, to be honest with you. Everything we talked about we felt needed to kind of happen in that game was the reverse, and to be honest with you, it felt like deja vu from the year before. They're a good football team. We knew that going in, and they're going to do what they do best, and they did that night. Defensively, we never really stopped them. And they're a hard team to defend once they get to midfield, because now they're in four-town territory, and they're not going to vary from what they do. They're just going to come at you. Positives defensively, I think, we talked about the big play hurting us year before. We really only gave up one big play, and then the disappointing point about that big play was right after one of our mistakes, and the mental toughness that we talked all preparing for this is not letting one mistake turn into something big, and it did there. And, we've never, in 17 years, never been down 12-0 out running an offensive play, and that's where we're sitting. With that being said, we make a nice drive. I thought offensively we played pretty good. We just didn't get any possessions, and we didn't finish our possessions. But our first 25 touched the ball, we went about 50 yards and about 5-6 at a crack, and had some nice plays in there, and then we fumble. And then they drive down, and we don't stop them again. But first half, we had 2 possessions. So you credit, 2 possessions. That's unbelievable.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we had 2 possessions. Well, I'm not counting the 30 seconds right before half.
Right.
But so 2 possessions. They did exactly what they wanted to do. We couldn't get off the field defensively, and then we helped them offensively. And we're sitting there 28-0 at half, and honestly, all we really talk about at half is try to win the second half and set the tone for next week. And we played a better second half, but still had a drive where we stalled out and didn't finish the drive, and they got another one in the second half. They got us to running clock. In 17 years, we've never had running clock on us. So a lot of first times that weren't good first times, but I tip my hat to them. They're hard to stop, and they're a good football team, and we didn't play that good, and we helped them out. And there was a lot of frustration and hurt, I think, after that game, and as well there should be. But this week we just, we addressed that stuff on Monday, things that stuck out that we need to get better at, and boom, you got to put that one behind and get ready for this week against Stanley. So it's not the way we won the starter year, but we had 7 regular season games left, but the really big one tonight.
You mentioned in that dialogue they're hurt. The one thing that did come out of that game is it looked like we got out of there unscathed against a very physical team. Going clean into week 1?
We are, and that's probably the biggest. You always look for positives out of a game, and that's probably the biggest positive we came out of there is no major injuries, and not even hardly any dings. Their kids were sore, which in a physical game like that they're going to be, but and that's really important as we move forward.
We talked about week 0, trying to define who we were after week 1. Do we know, or are we still a work in progress going forward?
I think we'll definitely know after tonight, and it's more from a psyche standpoint. This is a critical game for the entire year. If we have to show a response to the way we played last week. We have to show some character. And to me, the true the true character always comes out after some negative things that happen. That's not just football, that's life, and how are you going to grind and be a man and handle that stuff. So I expect that out of our guys tonight. I think they understand that too. And it's not the scoreboard we're talking about. It's feeling good about how you played when you walk off the field. And I know no one felt good about walking off the field last week, just knowing that we could play so much better. And that's really the most important thing. When you attack anything, feel good about how you attacked it, and how you did it, and how well you're prepared. And we had a decent week of practice, but it's critical for everything. This sets up for a big opponent, West Central, and then a Valentine with a huge winning streak. You just look at the schedule. We got to find out who we are tonight, and a lot of it is what kind of character do we have, and or what do we want to do for this season. So I'm excited about that, to see how the response of our guys. I think we'll have a very good response. I think they'll fight and battle and hopefully execute much better than we did last week.
Let's talk about our opponent tonight, the Stanley County Buffaloes. We own a 2-game winning streak against them based on last year's matchups. They're a team that's new to 11B. What should we expect from Stanley County tonight? New coaching staff.
Yeah, new head coach. He was our defensive coordinator last year, so that helps a little bit. But a lot of new assistants, so it's a probably a learning curve for them and what they want to move. MVP handled them pretty good last week. MVP's a top 5 team, no questions asked, and they return a lot of the guys we were worried about last year. They're all back. Gabriel's the number one concern. He didn't play against us in the playoffs. As a sophomore, he had a really solid year. He's quick, fast, shifty, and they're big up front. Off teaser's been starting probably since a freshman. Big physical tight end, possession receiver, Carter out at wide receiver, Hannah at quarterback. All those guys are back, so they have a good base and things that we have to be concerned about. They're definitely going to outsize up front. A lot of big guys, and I wouldn't say they're real quick, but we're giving up a size advantage there. They run things that you don't see a lot of high school teams where they'll try to run a lot of zone blocking schemes, and you just don't see that in high school very often. I think Mike Bush is one of their assistants, so I think maybe that came from Mike. I don't know. But it's a good scheme for Gabriel because you got those big guys out there just trying to block a gap, and he'll cut back, he'll go forward, he'll bounce. In those zone blocking schemes, he can go wherever he wants. It's not a design play. So that's hard to prepare for defensively when you're used to reading pulls and they're attacking places. We got to be disciplined defensively and maintain our gap and go with flow. Because if we start getting aggressive and start leaving those cutback lanes, we're in trouble. So we got to be really defensively and keep Gabriel under wraps. If we do that, I think that sets up for them trying to have to throw and everything we talk about every year. We want them to throw. We want to stop that run and make them throw. So it's a big test defensively, completely different setup than Sioux Falls Christian. We knew that they were going to come right at us. So our secondary linebackers got to be both run and pass stops. Offensively, man, they ran like 4 different defensive sets against MVP, so that's hard to prepare for too. A lot of it's going to fall on me and recognizing what they're in, because there's areas we can certainly attack in everything they're doing. But if they're mixing it up a lot, playing that game of trying to stay ahead of them of what they might do. But like I said, I wasn't disappointed offensively with us last week. I mean, we averaged, I think,
4.9,
almost 5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And we had a couple completions in there, and so we got to build on that. And most importantly, I think it comes down to offensively 2 things: finished plays. We had a couple long runs that could have easily been touchdowns if one guy would have made that extra block. We talk about that all the time. But probably more importantly, along with finishing plays comes finishing drives, because we were there and we just didn't get points on the board. We got to finish drives, and so it's a first conference matchup. A good football team, a good storied program there in Stanley County too, and have really brought it back to a very competitive football team the last 4 or 5 years as they went from 9-man to 11-man. So, and they'll be ready for us. They're going to want us after we got them pretty good in the playoffs last year in this field. So it's probably, they're saying a lot of the same things. It's a critical game for them too. So it's going to be a test of wills, and we need to play well. That's what it comes down to. We got to play well.
Looks like a beautiful night on hand here for football. It's still the middle of August, but weather is going to be a nice game. We'll go ahead and wrap up here, but we're going to visit next week, and we'll have a lot more about the Winter Warriors at that time. Dan, thank you for your time.
You bet. Thanks, Jody.